Hey guys, Nanman here, and it's another Thursday, which means it's another Modern Meta Breakdown, and I got Addie hanging out with me today, sleeping on some of my playmats, um, and I appreciate all the support you guys have been giving for the show. It's been going on for a couple weeks now. We've been bouncing around lots of different decks to talk about, lots of stuff happening in the modern scene. We did have a couple of people give some deck suggestions up over the last video we were talking about there, so don't worry guys, I hear what you're saying. You want to see some fun stuff. It seems we've got some fans of red out there right now with Scred Red, Madcap Imperium there, which are some pretty sweet decks. We will not be discussing them this week, but stay tuned because we will be bringing you guys that sort of action. Probably one of those two decks next week. This week I wanted to highlight a deck that, as SCG has had opens lately, classics, stuff like that taking place, there's been one deck that has made first a couple of times now since the banning of Cataxian Probe and Golgari Grave Troll at the beginning of the year. So we're going to talk a little bit about those decks, or I guess that deck tonight, which is Ad Nauseam. So there's a couple ways to think about Ad Nauseam. It's a very linear combo deck out there, and does really well when you have to worry about creatures trying to kill you, which is weird to think about. If you're facing down a deck that's like, I'm gonna just kill you with regular damage, this deck's pretty happy. If you're facing down a field full of infect, you're not in a good spot here. Now, the big ways to kind of think about Ad Nauseam is when you first see it, you might be very confused about what your opponent is doing, because they're going to start things out probably by playing a temple. And there's very few decks in Modern that run temples, specifically these colors, the black, blue, and the white blue there. So you've got to think about that and go, okay, as soon as your opponent is playing those lands, you've got to have those red flags going off in your head that, oh, I'm playing against Ad Nauseam. And you see the land base is pretty much just blue-white, black-blue kind of thing. It does have gemstones, so you can get other mana if you need be. Sometimes it runs only 4 creatures, and those would be the 4 Simian Spirit Guides. Depending on what your meta's like, what you are running into, Laboratory Maniac is seen in the main. You should have it in your 75, whether it's in the main or the side. It's actually really important. So you see Laboratory Maniac might be a card that you're like, I've never heard of this creature ever. Because it only sees play in this deck in Modern. There's not really any other niche scene that you're going to be seeing. I'm sure there's commander decks and things of that nature, kitchen table and whatever, but cost 3 for a 2/2 human wizard. If you draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. And Ad Nauseam lets you draw your whole deck. Cool, this is all in my hand now. So let's go over and talk about what Ad Nauseam reads exactly. It costs 5, so there is some ramp involved into casting it out, and we'll talk about the way you can ramp in a minute. But Ad Nauseam costs 5, 3 colors, and double black. Instance, you can do it during either player's turn. Reveal the top cards of your library, and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. You may repeat this process any number of times. So you think, oh, losing life for the converted mana cost, that doesn't seem that good. But for the most part, there's not that expensive amount of stuff minus Ad Nauseam in here. But the objective is you're going to play a card to prevent you from losing. So Ad Nauseam is the kind of way to find your win condition, essentially. Either you've got Laboratory Maniac, you cast Ad Nauseam, and you win on the spot. Or you have to cast Ad Nauseam, find Lightning Storm, be able to cast Lightning Storm this turn. So you have to have a way to generate more than 5 mana in that turn. You essentially need to get up to 8 mana. And the big way to do that is having these Simian Spirit Guides that you can remove. So having 2 of those left in your deck to be able to cast Lightning Storm. And Lightning Storm is, interestingly enough, an activated ability on an instant. Haven't really seen that in a very long time. But for 3 mana, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is 3 plus the number of charge counters on it. Well, how does it get a charge counter? You discard a land, and you put 2 charge counters on it. Any player can play this ability, though. So if you're sitting there going, oh, I've got a land, he's discarded a land, gonna try to send it at me kind of thing, and then I discard one to try to send it back, he's got his whole deck. He's going to have access to more lands than you. It's not going to work out well. But you can Pithing Needle it. You can Phyrexian Obliterator? No. Oh, what's the 2-1 artifact creature that's essentially Pithing Needle? But you can't name lands. Now I'm blanking on it. But Lightning Storm can be shut off with Pithing Needle. So all of you guys running that in your sideboard, good job. It's great. A lot of people aren't aware of that when they sit there and see it for the first time. They just go, wow, I don't have anything to deal with it. Maybe I have a Dispel in my sideboard that I can use to try to counter that. Maybe, you know, but it's not that hard to kind of deal with Lightning Storm if you have Pithing Needles and things of that nature. Or just play Infect, and you don't have to worry about dying to that because they can't stop you. Now, the saving grace of the deck. So we've got Ad Nauseam, how to prevent yourself from dying from all this damage you're taking. You've got 8 cards in the deck set up that way to help you out. 1, Phyrexian Unlife, which is an enchantment, costs 3, 2 colors and a white. You don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. Fun fact. As long as you have 0 or less life, all damage is dealt to you as though the sources had Infect. Now, interesting enough, Ad Nauseam will sit there and be like, alright, I'm going to draw down and just lose all my life, but you're not going to be taking damage from Phyrexian Unlife in Infect damage. Because you're losing life off it, you're not taking damage. That's that little stipulation about it. So they can sit there and be at negative 200 that turn based on that. And guess what? They're fine. Nothing to worry about. Oh, there's a dog out there. So that's one way to do it. The other one is a nice split second card here. And you can tell it's a split second because the heart's nicely split in half. Angel's Grace, 1 white. Split second for those that might not remember. As long as this card's on the stack, players can't cast spells, activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. And you can't lose the game this turn. Your opponent can't win the game this turn. Until the end of the turn, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. So you go Angel's Grace, cast Ad Nauseam, draw my whole deck, go to 1. Remove 3 Simian Spirit Guides, cast Lightning Storm, discard 10 lands, or, you know, however many lands you want, kill my opponent. And if they go, oh, alright, I'm going to sit here and dispel that. You go, well, luckily I drew my whole deck, so I'm going to cast Pact of Negation and protect that from happening. Yeah, that's the deck, guys. Let's talk a little bit about ramp, ways to find the combo, that sort of stuff. Because you essentially need to have a protection spell, which is your Angel's Grace or your Phyrexian Unlife. Phyrexian Unlife has to be on the battlefield, or you have Angel's Grace in your hand. The ramp to get there, Lotus Bloom, which is a suspend artifact here, suspends for 3 turns, then cast it for 0. Sack it, add 3 to your mana pool of 1 color. So, hey, you know what? Turn 1, suspend a Lotus Bloom. By turn 3, I can cast this Lotus Bloom for 0, sack it for 3 mana, and then I've got essentially, saying we've made our land drops to that point, turn 3, you would essentially have 6 mana available to you, be able to cast Angel's Grace, and then do Ad Nauseam. You could go a little bit quicker with Simian Spirit Guide. You could go quicker if you also had Pentad Prism out there before the suspend goes off. Pentad Prism does have that Sunburst, so enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. For the most part, it's going to be having 2 on it. There's no reason to be spending more into it because it costs 2. You're not going to spend less than that. You're not going to go, well, I've got double blue to put in it with my Seachrome Coast and my Dark Slick Shores. No. Do 2 separate manas, boom, you have 2 extra mana available. Remove a counter, cool, you get 2 mana for free. Ways to ramp, go off a little bit quicker. So both of these are consistent across the board that you're going to see. That's the way that they can go off a little bit quicker. Got some protection, Pact of Negation, and ways to find stuff. Serum Visions, playset. Sleight of Hand, playset. You know, the draw, the scries, look at the top card, put one on the bottom. Very nice. Also has mystical teachings in here. Search your library for an instant card or a card with flash. Reveal that, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. So that lets you be able to find like Lightning Storm, Angel's Grace, stuff like that to kind of help you out. Also Pact of Negation. So you can kind of protect yourself, build yourself up nicely, find that Angel's Grace that you're missing to really make sure that you can go off. Spoils of the Vault is another way to go off, essentially, in a way, depending on how things work. Maybe you really need that Ad Nauseam, or maybe you really need that Angel's Grace, Phyrexian Unlife, that one particular card, and Serums and Slights just aren't getting there. Well, for 1 black, name a card, reveal cards from top of your library until you reveal the named card, then put that card into your hand, remove all other cards, reveal this way from the game, and you lose 1 life for each of the removed cards. So another way to lose life, kind of help you find stuff you need. But you do have to think, if it's really far down, you're going to end up removing a lot of cards from the game that you might need to go off. So, you know, maybe kind of think about what's a little bit further up. Maybe if you're like, oh, this is, I did a serum kind of thing, and it's the next card. I don't have another draw spell, but I know I can go off this turn. Cast Spoils, find that particular card kind of thing. So just an extra way to kind of help yourself out. Talk sideboard for a little bit here. I mean, there's just kind of extra stuff in here if you want to change your game plan here. This is pretty sweet, though. Our avatar here, Godhead of Awe, flying, spirit avatar, other creatures you control are 1/1. Or sorry, other creatures are 1/1, not just creatures you control. It's creatures your opponent control. All those big goyfs and stuff like that. Now, those are just 1/1s. Sorry. Death Shadow, 1/1. So, Leyline of Sanctity, you're going to want to have a play set of those. Help protect yourself against Inquisitions, Thought Seizes, Lightning Bolts, things along those lines. Just some other helpful stuff. Echoing Truth, Fatal Push, Hurkyl's Recall, you know, nice one. Another Pact in there, Slaughter Pact as well. Elspeth's Sun Champion if you're kind of switching gears, and Thoughtseize as well. So just utility sideboard, protection, disruption, ways to switch gears kind of thing. So it's a really fun deck if you like those sort of linear combo decks that I know, but I just need to get up to 5 mana to be able to cast Ad Nauseam, and I need to have a way to protect myself from dying this turn. Whether it's Angel's Grace or Phyrexian Unlife, one of those has to save me. Pretty straightforward. And that's why the deck works really well against all these creature decks that's, you know, kind of coming at you. Just like, yeah, fine. Bring it on. I don't care about my life because I'm going to prevent myself from losing. So this is one of the versions that did have Laboratory Maniac in the main. I just wanted to show you one from beginning of March, end of February, that also got first place that did not run Laboratory Maniac in the main. Very similar, but you can see just kind of adding a little bit more spell, just one more essentially, just switch it out on how you run it. You don't really need more than 20 lands. This one's land base is a little bit different, opting for like Urborg, some fetches in here as well, just like a single steam vents maybe to help streamline stuff instead of having to rely purely on Simian Spirit Guide. This also does give them access to stuff like Desperate Ritual, you know, add 3 to your mana pool. Hey, that's just the amount I need to cast Lightning Storm. Look how easy that was. Gemstone Mine's in here, but that, you know, opting for the fetch land aspect, which is a way that you can go. You can also just kind of go the regular route with fast lands because you're going to be playing stuff pretty early on, kind of thing. But we talked about it. Play set of Lotus Bloom, 3 Pentad Prism, shaved on 1 Pentad to add in the Desperate Ritual here, which is an interesting route to go, but does end up working. Phyrexian Life, or Ad Nauseam, Angel's Grace. You can see he's relying more on the Angel Grace with Ad Nauseam over the Phyrexian Unlife. Just kind of preference on that regard. And you see those little tweaks when you really start playing a deck. Just those 1 or 2 minor changes amongst people's lists really show you that they know their deck in and out. So we talked about the Desperate Ritual coming in here. I like the art for that. That's just kind of, you know, pretty sweet. Mystical Teachings, again, you can find stuff, you can flash it back, things go really long. Pact of Negation, the protection, Slaughter Pact main, Serum, Sleight of Hand. This list is running 3 Peer Through the Depths, which some old lists have run before. This also can pair well with the Desperate Ritual, because you can splice this onto Peer Through Depths if need be. But this allows you to look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal an instant or sorcery from among them, and put that into your hand. The rest go in the bottom. So that's pretty much majority of your deck when you think about it, of what you want to get. You cannot get Lotus Bloom, you can't get Pentad Prism, you can't get Phyrexian Unlife. The rest of your spells are available. Look at all these instances here. And some sorceries. So that's a nice way to kind of look at things. Because he's running the Peer Through Depths, that's another reason to run the fetch lands. Help shuffle things up if need be. And he's got the Urborg, so hey, those fetch lands later on can just simply tap for black. The Peer option is basically his way of saying, you know what, I'm not a fan of spoils, but I want some other ways to help me find stuff. I'm going to use the Peer Through Depths there. So again, personal preference, how the deck works for you, what you think works out best, what's actually working for you the best, go for that. Sideboard, have to fit in that Laboratory Maniac, because that is something that you need as an extra win condition when your opponent sits there game 2 and plays Pithing Needle, Naming, Lightning Storm, because that shuts it off. So that's just an extra way to help save you there. Playset of our Leyline of Sanctities, like we were talking about. Darkness is pretty sweet. It's plain, color shifted fog. 1 in black, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Yes, seems great. All about it. Some, again, Hurkyl's Recall, Disenchant, Echoing Truth, Fatal Push, that sort of stuff. This list is opting for the Damnation, Timely. Here's some blockers. Here's some life. Damnation, board wipes, seems nice. Extra protection with Pact of Negation. So if you're looking for a combo deck to do that doesn't really involve creatures, not trying to go for that sort of route, this is a fun one to do in Modern, and actually works out really well in the meta currently, because you'll know that there's a lot of creature-based decks running around there. So definitely something to consider for those that are into this sort of thing. Maybe they've played Storm for a little bit and they're like, I want a little bit of a change from Storm, but I want to do combo stuff in Modern. What can I do? Well, there is another deck out there that you might enjoy, Ad Nauseam. A little bit of different mindsets about how you got to play it, but still, they are combo decks that are for Modern. You do have that kind of glaring hole in the plan of like, hey, Pithing Needle does shut this deck down, but that's very reliant on your opponent having to have it in their opening hand or draw it very early on, because this deck, you think about, 5 mana, that could take a while, but with Pentad Prism, with Lotus Bloom, Simian Spirit Guides, they can go off pretty quickly there, and if things line up for them, hey, turn 3, I've gone off. Like, something to consider, guys, because again, that Lotus Bloom does get suspended for 3. But I mean, they could even have an opening hand where they go suspend Lotus Bloom, play my Scryland, pass, turn 2, Pentad Prism, suspend another Lotus Bloom, pass, and even be set up even better to be like, well, I'm going to have 2 Lotus Blooms here, all the mana to be able to do all the stuff that I want, cast Mystical Teachings if I need to. Like, there's some fun ways that you can play this deck. But thumbs up for the Serum Vision art that is in the list. But that is what we wanted to talk about tonight, just kind of the more combo style decks that are out there in Modern, not just stuff like Storm or Pure Steel Paladin and things like that. Don't worry, guys. The other decks we will be discussing in the future. So I do appreciate the comments and stuff that you guys are leaving. Let me know what sort of decks that you're interested in seeing for the Modern Meta Breakdown. There's a lot to go over. We have not talked about so many different decks in there. There's lots of creature-based decks. There's combo decks. There's more fringe stuff. So we're trying to hit all over the place for the Modern Meta Breakdown for you guys to be able to enjoy. You know, keep leaving those comments. Keep letting us know here what you want to see, and we'll do our best to kind of highlight it, at least at some point. We're going to go through all the decks at one point or another, so it'll happen. But I hope you guys have been enjoying the content that I've been producing. I did want to take the time real quick at the end of this video and let you know that I am going to start releasing additional videos again for YouTube at the beginning of the week. Thursday is always going to be Modern Meta Breakdowns. You'll always see a new episode up over here. But I'm also going to start doing some more stuff. You can see in the background the Blizzard aspect that I'm a fan of. Going to get back into doing some StarCraft stuff. Going to maybe do some Heroes of the Storm, some Overwatch. We've done Hearthstone from time to time, but got those games, maybe some Minecraft content again. So all that stuff is going to be the front end of the week, that Thursday, or I'm sorry, that Sunday, Monday time period, and then get back into Modern at the end of the week. You can also check out Modern Magic Mondays live over on Twitch. VODs go up at the end of the week there, which is the weekly Modern coverage that I do for my shop. It's 5 rounds, very high-level competitive play, great way to learn a little bit more, have some fun, and it's a great snapshot of what the meta looks like, because you are going to be seeing a lot of those decks that we've discussed, as well as from time to time a little bit of fringe stuff, maybe something you hadn't thought about or seen before, and we do get those discussions going for that. But again, really appreciate your support. If you like what you see here, hit the follows, hit the subscribes, check me out across the board. Simply search The Real Name Man. You'll find me all over the place. But that's going to do it again for me here tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you guys next game.